Hey everyone, I'm Mark. This is Gonzo. Does your encounter have an objective? We're going to find out.
Let's see. Let's see if they have an objective.
Let's see. Do they object to the objective?
They probably
I
object.
hope they don't
would.
object.
I would object.
That's objective. It's subjective, really, the objective.
Who knows?
All right, today we're talking about your encounter. Designing an encounter and making sure that it has a clear objective, right?
Well, encounters are a big part of the game, but you know what else is a big part of the game?
What's that?
Subscribing to Dungeon Class and hitting that bell for notifications. That's a big part of the game.
Amen. That is part of the game.
But you're right.
I like
Encounters.
this game.
All right, let's talk about encounters.
All right.
That's what we do as Dungeon Masters.
Yes.
We create encounters.
Yes.
And sometimes they're just encounters. And
Okay.
that's what we wanted to talk about today.
All right. So today, how are we going to make that? So part of the thing is when you're creating something like this, an encounter for your players, you want to make sure you have a clear-cut objective. Otherwise, they can become frustrated, trying to figure out, why am I here? What are we doing? And so you want to make that pretty crystal clear what the objective is, and that really solve a lot of problems. And there's a lot of ways that you can make sure that those objectives are clear. And there's a lot of different ways you can have objectives. So we're going to talk about some of those.
Yeah,
today.
we'll give you a little list. You can work off that, make up your own, whatever. One of the things I remembered is that generally if you're creating encounters, that means you're homebrewing or you're creating your own campaign.
Yes.
Which means you already have an overarching theme.
Yeah.
Because that's how you started the idea of your campaign setting.
Right.
So you generally have an overarching theme or a big bad guy that they have to go get or whatever it may be. And encounters, especially random encounters, are things that they do along the way, but they should tie in at some point or somehow to that overarching theme. And let's talk about some of the tropes that are commonly used for doing that and having an objective to that. So.
All right. So one way is that their objective is to make peace. So there may be two warring factions or two groups that are just not getting along, and you've been sent there to fix that, to negotiate a peace.
You send our group in to make peace between.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, this may be a terrible idea.
That might not be good. So,
but it is a commonly used objective.
And that's a good point because depending on your group. And if you think about your group, maybe that's not going to be the thing. You have a whole group of barbarians, and they're supposed to go in and make the peace. It kind of reminds me of one game we had. We had two of the worst people to go negotiate something.
Yeah, that
we
happens.
sent them. That was, I don't know how we got there, but anyway.
Yeah.
So you think about your group, but really like bards would be really great for that kind of thing. A paladin, yeah. So if you think about who the makeup is of your group, or the kind of players you have, players, you might have players that just really aren't so combat oriented, but they like to be able
the
to
role playing and using their other skills that they have and charisma checks and things like that to try to persuade people. So if you've got a bard or a paladin or a cleric even within the group, maybe you can tie that little piece right into their backstory or something like that. But either way, that's a great one.
Yeah,
that's a great one. Making peace. Good luck.
Yeah, right. So what's another one, Gonzo?
Well, another one would be your group has to protect somebody or something, an object or something.
Right.
And to make it more interesting, you generally don't protect someone that's very capable of handling themselves. So it's someone, maybe an elderly or a baby or like the Mandalorian or something, where you have something that you're protecting. Or an object that's fragile and very important. Yeah. Something like that is really cool because if it's fragile, if they get in a full-pitched battle, someone may have to stay back and protect the item or the person. Yeah. If it's something, if they're escorting a baby somewhere and they're the bodyguards, someone may have to create something or do something to protect them, and they're taken out of the battle. So it really adds a lot of flavor to the their encounter, and it gives them an objective for sure.
Very good.
That's a good one.
Another one is we'll retrieve an object. It kind of reminds me of like Indiana Jones, the Ark of the Covenant or something.
The quest item.
Some kind of an item they got to get. Maybe it's something, an object that's going to help them turn the tide of some kind of a big battle of some kind, or maybe it's just some, something near and dear to this wizard that hires you. Could be small, could be big, could be something that's just important to that character. Or NPC, or it could be something that's monumental. Maybe it fits into your overarching thing that it's the thing that they need to defeat the big bad evil person.
And to make it more interesting, if that object is something they have to get before the battle's even over, if there's like a timer set where they need to get that item before,
way better,
in 3 rounds or something, or else they lose it. It sinks into the quicksand or whatever.
Right.
The bad guys dropped drop through it over the edge and it's on a precarious cliff, and every clash of swords sends a vibration in it.
Right.
You know, whatever it is. So it creates a different level of an encounter, because it generally means that some player, a group of players, are going to have to defer from combat only and do something else at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's like the rogue disabling a trap while battles are happening all around. It's the same kind of scenario.
Yeah,
so,
and
again, you get to use different skills. That's a good one. So another one is running a gauntlet, going through a whole group of things.
Right.
And this one, again, is more interesting if the object of this encounter, this objective, is just to get out of the room.
Yeah.
Think of in Star Wars when they're in the trash compactor and it's closing in on them. There is a monster in there, right? There was, right? I mean, it's been a little while since.
No, it's a big
there's something in there and
that
grabbing at them.
Yeah.
But
there could be crushed. So.
If they sat there and took their time worried about the monster, that wasn't their objective. Their objective was to get out of the room. So this gauntlet, or this encounter itself, is a trap or a puzzle of some kind, or something where there's definitely a timer going on that brings up the tension, brings up the fun and the engagement in the game, and it should be a lot of fun. And people could die, which is always fun.
There's always that possibility.
Speaking of, I know you're probably wondering, why are you guys giving dungeon masters more of an arsenal to torture players? That's what we do. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. What's the next one?
So another one would be the sneaking in. They have to sneak in and do something. Like maybe they have to, or sneak in or sneak out even. But sneak in and, for example, in one of my campaigns, there's a wizard that was, he was very mad at someone, a mayor of a town, and he had crossed him at some point. He simply hired the group to go and retrieve a precious object that was precious to that mayor. A silly object. It was a big fat metal pig that he had on his desk. It was near and dear to him for some reason. Wanted him to steal it, so that would be it's something that would make him feel bad, because that's something he really loved. And as a bonus, if they stole his underwear and ran into the flagpole, they got a bonus on that. So they had to sneak in and do that. So it became an interesting situation, because the place they had to sneak in was heavily fortified. So they had to get in.
Well, and being sneaky in itself, it goes counter to what we're used to in D&D. The trick about being sneaky is that you're being sneaky because there's a consequence if you're not. If you're heard, if you're found out, if you're seen. There's something that's going to happen. Maybe it's an overwhelming force that you wake up or find out you're there that you can't defeat. And that's why like this is a dragon or something, right? A sneaksters, right? You go in, just get the Arkenstone away from the dragon. That's easy enough.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, so in other words, that's the whole point, is there is a consequence that's staring at them, right there in their face, that they know they have to avoid. Yeah. And so they have to try to be sneaky. That's really good. Again, there's already instant tension. If there's no real heavy consequence, then being sneaky doesn't work.
Right.
So, but that's a great one.
What's another one there, Gonzo?
Stopping a ritual from happening. Stopping some kind of. I mean, I've seen it in a lot of movies, and it's a common trope. But there's a sacrifice about to happen. Beastmaster, Conan, whatever, Indiana Jones. There's something really terrible that's about to happen, and the party comes in. Sherlock Holmes, right? In the very beginning of Sherlock Holmes, he stops a ritual from happening, or something that was going to be negative for somebody important. Right. That's a great one too, because there's a timer. Yeah. You're trying to stop them. There may be a very heavy consequence. It could be something also that is very dark. So it's a great way to bring mood into a darker mood if you're trying to do that. So it's another common trope that can be used. It's an objective. And if you can tie that again to something that matters to the players, to their overarching theme, then that's going to work out really well. Maybe they're after... this is one of the cult members of the big cult they're trying to destroy, and they see this terrible thing happening, and they're trying to stop it. So whatever that may be.
Very good. All right. Well, another good one is it's the very simple one that we use a lot of times, which is to take out a single target. There's someone that they're hired to take out this person. And it could be a big bad evil guy. It could be a lieutenant along the way, or whatever. It could be
probably is, and he's probably surrounded by tons and tons of minions. So that would be the objective part of this is very difficult.
Yeah, and there's definitely consequences to it.
Right.
Because you got to fight your way through, and that could actually. One thing that we want to point out is you could blend some of these. You don't have to have just running a gauntlet or making peace. You can combine some of these. So maybe taking out the target requires you to run a gauntlet, Gauntlet and the Gauntlet kind where you have to fight your way through a bunch of things, maybe even a pit fight situation, to get your way to the bad guy, because he's made it very difficult. The thing is, if a guy knows that they're coming to kill him, he's probably going to take some precautions.
Yeah, he's going to hire guards. He's going to have his whole posse with him, So
it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a great one, and there's so many others. And let us know in the comments below some other ways that you could tie objectives into your encounters to make the encounters more meaningful for your group. Don't forget to combine these as often as you can, like Mark said, and also, if you're wondering where this great info that Mark and I brilliantly came up with, it's right here in your Dungeon Master's Guide, as you see right here, page 81. There's a whole chapter on creating encounters. This is one little piece of it. And we're sharing that with you because a lot of us go right to the magic items in our DM's guide, and we don't read the DM's guide, and that's fine. But we wanted to share that with you as well. So I'm really happy with the idea that every encounter should matter and should have an objective. I think your players will too. And with that,
class dismissed.